You know, in the past few years, one of the most popular baits and hottest hyped baits on the market has been the Megabass Karashi. This is the original Karashi that came out a few years back now, and it really has, become a very popular lure. In fact, oftentimes it's sold out and hard to get. This is a 60 millimeter bait, and now they've come out with an 80 millimeter bait. And these lures are popular for good reason. They work. They do catch fish. I've used this bait in a number of different situations and caught all kinds of species, from largemouth, smallmouth bass to stripers, hybrid stripers. Got crappie, rock bass, white bass. It just catches everything, and it is a very good bait. The problem with the bait, though, is that for a bait this size, this tiny little 60 millimeter bait, which is 2.36 inches, will cost you around $18 to get one. And if you want to get the 80 millimeter bait, the bigger one, that's going to cost you $20 on average. But what if I was to tell you you can get a bait that is a copy of it, it looks very much the same, for 44 cents? That's what I paid for this one. And that's a 60 millimeter. Here's a 75 millimeter one I paid $1.29 for. Now, they did not have hooks on them or the eyes, and I added a little bit of paint to them. So I had to add my hooks, and I actually tied my own tail feather, and I added some 3D eyes. But 44 cents compared to $18, when you add all that stuff, it might cost you all of $1 or maybe $2 max. So it's pennies on the dollar, and so this is why we're making the video today. We want to know, does this bait made that we get from Peaky Lure Company, how does it compare to the Karashi? Does it work the same or not? We're gonna in a few minutes we're gonna go out in the water and test these things. We're gonna show you footage from above the water. I want to know, how close do these baits look in the water to each other? Do they work similarly? Because if they do, you can get a bunch more at a much better price if the Peaky ones compare to the Karashi, to the Megabass Karashi. So I have to name this. This doesn't really have a name to it, so I'm going to call it the Peaky Rashi, because Peaky Lure Company is who I buy it from. So we'll call it the Peaky Rashi instead of the Karashi for the purposes of this video, so you know which one we're talking about. But we're going to get it out on the water. First, let's do a comparison on the size of these and the weight of them. We'll show you that, and then we'll get it right to the water and see how they compare. So we have here the original Karashi, which is a 60 millimeter bait. .60 millimeter is 2.36 inches. And here we have a couple of Peaky lures. We'll call it the Peaky Rashi, which is a copycat bait, and this is the same size, 60 millimeters. Now there's a new Karashi that is 80 millimeters. That one is right here. And they also have one that is close to that from the Peaky line. It's not quite 80, it's more like 75. It's just a little bit shorter, but very, very similar in size. So what we want to do now is see if they're similar in weight. So we're going to set up a scale here, and we'll put the original Megabass Karashi on it, and we have 0.176 ounces. And we'll weigh both of these imitation ones. They're going to be close in weight. This one here weighs 0.176 as well, so it's identical in weight. Try this one. And this one is 0.175. So, there are just a couple variations with tail feathers and that kind of thing. Now, one difference you'll see here is that the original Karashi has the tinsel tail, and on these Peaky Karashis, I tied up these hooks. I prefer to have feather tails rather than the tinsel. I think they look more realistic in the water, They have better movement and they look more like a tail. So that's a preference that I have. Now let's weigh the other two. So this is the Karashi 80. Put that on the scale, and you can see that weighs 0.390 ounces. And then the Karashi 75, a little bit smaller. The hooks are smaller as well. It looks like I put number 6 hooks on this. It looks like the Karashi 80 had number 5s on it. But the weight is very similar at 389.389. Is that the exact same weight? Let's see. And that's 0.401 this time. So a little bit lighter, but you'd expect that because it's got lighter hooks and it's a little smaller size. Well, you'll notice what I bought here. This one was a foiled pattern from Piki. I just used a black marker for the back and left the rest of it alone. And then I put a tail feather hook on the back. I also put eyes on these baits. You can get these 3D eyes, stick-on eyes from Piki Lure as well. I usually put a little dab of super glue on the socket and then put the eye in there. This one was one of the clear baits that I bought, and I used some paint markers to put some silver chrome color on the belly and bottom. I used a purple marker and a black marker on the back, and I did the same with the larger size here. Same pattern as what I showed with the smaller ones. So just to give you an idea of how I set these up, these are size 6 Gamakatsu EWG hooks, again with tail feathers for each one and lifelike eyes. I also, on the ones where I use the purple marker, I also painted on red gills, as you can see on both of these baits. Probably should do the same with these foil ones. I'll probably do that later. Alright, so we got the standard Karashi on here. We're going to show you the action on this bait. One thing about it is it sits very horizontally planed, and it's almost neutrally buoyant. It does sink, but extremely slow, so it's easy to keep it on the surface if you want to. And so right now you should be able to see how that works. Really, no snap, no split ring, just tied directly to the bait. And you can see, you know, with the rod twitches, it really has a crazy panicked minnow look to it. And hopefully you can see that. So we're going to tie on the Karashi and see how that compares, and then we're going to do the same thing with the larger sizes. I'm hoping it's very similar to the Karashi action. So far it seems to be. It's got that same horizontal look. It's actually floating. It's not sinking at all. It's going to start to sink. Cast easily enough. Yeah, it's just staying on the surface right now. And it's going under a little bit. So it's a lot easier to keep up on the surface. But it doesn't... there, now it's going down. Goes down, it actually dives down a little bit. Here's a little smallmouth after it. Little tiny smallmouth right behind it here. Don't know if you can see that. Oh, there's one. Well, that is a smallmouth. But a smallmouth. Ooh, he almost took me. Nevertheless, pretty little guy. Ooh, here's one. Well, they're getting smaller. Okay, so now we're going to throw the Karashi 80 and show you what that looks like, and compare it to the Karashi 75. Okay, so I'll show you this 80 here. It has a very similar action to the 60. Look at that on the top there. It has that slow, super slow sync rate. Very, very nice action. All right, let's try this guy and see what it does out here. This is going to be very interesting. Ah, this one sinks. Maybe at a little bit of a faster rate than the other. Very interesting. This one sinks at a pretty good clip. I'm actually happy about that. Oh boy, does it look good in water. Wow. One thing I have to determine yet is how good the repeatability is on these peaky baits, right? If I use another one this same size, will it work exactly the same? If I use another one these 60 size, will it sink or will it float like that other one did? That's something we have to determine. But if they didn't work exactly the same, it would be a lot less painful because of the price. You know, it only costs $1 or so to get one of these. So, you know, $1 or $2. And so you can afford to get a few of them. If you have one or two that you don't like, you just go to the next one. And you're still winning the game. They're smallmouths. Very small smallmouths. I mean, tiny. Where are the bigger ones? Hey everyone, check this out. This is from Better Boats. It's boat erasers. There's 3 in a pack. It removes marks from vinyl, fiberglass, plastic, wood, and glass. It also does a great job on aluminum. I have a bucket of water here. Nothing else, just water, no soap, no detergent. Check this out. Like the name implies, it's a boat eraser. Just erases the scum right off of here. Now I would imagine it would do a lot better if it had some detergent in there too, but this is just a plain bucket of water. You can see it gets that off pretty nicely. Check out the before and after on this without even using any soap. And the nice thing is the eraser collects the dirt, but put it in water, it's like a brand new eraser. Nice product. Comes 3 in a box, and I'll leave a link. Check them out at betterboats.com. I'll leave a link in the description of this video to betterboats.com and to Amazon where you can get this product.